Anxiety, easily one of the more common struggles in our society today. Today I want to talk about anxiety through a biblical lens, and we're going to be spending time in Psalm 4 in the translation from the Message, because I think this version speaks a lot to our struggle with anxiety. It starts out in verse 1, and it's David crying out to God, and he says, "When I call, give me answers, God, take my side. Once in a tight place you gave me room. Now I'm in trouble again. Grace me. Hear me." And I think that speaks so much to our struggle with anxiety, because we feel alone when we're anxious, don't we? Like the whole world's crowding in on us like that tight place. And once when we were in that tight place before, God helped us out, but now we think we're in trouble again and something's going to happen, whether real or perceived. And we just need to look to God to help us through the situation. It continues in verse 2, and it talks about that battle going on in our mind when we're anxious about things that, like I said, they're either real, they may be perceived, they're just, they start a downward spiral of us thinking about things over and over again, making things worse than they are. And it says, how long will you lust after lies? How long will you live crazed by illusion? Not really paying attention to what's right in front of us, but all the stuff that we think is going to happen, or maybe the things we think we need, lusting after those lies, those things that we think will fulfill our life, but they don't. Just the things that we think we need instead of God. The next verse 3 is fantastic. It says, look at this. Look, who got picked by God? He listens the split second I call to him. You know who got picked by God? I do. You and I. All we have to do is reach out to him. He's going to listen to us, especially in those times that we feel anxious and alone. God's always there with us. And often when we're feeling anxiety, as it continues in verse 4 and 5, it says, complain if you must, but don't lash out. Keep your mouth shut and let your heart do the talking. I don't know about you, but when I'm anxious and nervous about things, I get pretty short because I'm inside my own head. And when people come in to that world and try and snap me out of it, I often just bite their head off and say the first thing that comes to my mind. But I think this is great advice. Don't lash out. Just keep your mouth shut. Keep your mind on God. Help him encourage you through this. I've actually been doing this for the last year and a half, been really working on that. And in the last few months, I've really started to see the fruit of that. And then it continues. This is a great summary of our society today. And I guess, every day, if this goes back to biblical times, it says, why is everyone hungry for more? More, they say. More. I have God's more than enough. More joy in one ordinary day than they get in all their shopping sprees. Isn't that awesome? That we have God's more than enough. We don't need to look any further. He's right here with us. That all that things we do to fill us up and we think will fill that hole that we're longing for, and just the anxiety that we feel. We go these places for comfort that we don't need to. We just need to go to God, and he is more than enough. And then this psalm ends with this. It says, at day's end, I'm ready for a sound sleep, for you, God, have put my life back together. And that's where I want to leave this today. That, often when we're anxious, we have trouble sleeping. I know I did a Wednesday Wisdom on this last summer, and I told you about this psalm, these last verses. Psalm 4:8 is a verse I'm talking about being able to sleep. I meditate on that when I wake up at 2 or 3 in the morning, and I found after doing this for almost a year, it has really helped me, because I just focus on that God is there. He's put my life back together. He will help me sleep. He watches over me when I sleep. In another version, the version I have kind of memorized in my head, I think it's a New Living Translation, it says, in peace, O Lord, I will lie down and sleep, because you alone will protect me. And that's where I want to leave that today. Just look to the Bible, look to God in the struggle we have with anxiety, and it will help. It'll make a difference each and every day. We'll see you next time on Wednesday Wisdom.